Whenever I talk to people about rhythm games on PC, people always bring up the free alternatives and community-driven games, which that's great and all, and there's actually some great songs out there and some great boards and everything for that style of stuff, but sometimes you just want a good, solid designed experience that just offers a unique kind of take on everything with some nice, pretty graphics and stuff like that to go along with it. And that's what this offers. It's mostly geared towards the casual and intermediate players, although it does have some score attack elements that kind of goes into the more advanced stuff that, hardcores will actually find quite enjoyable. But overall, it's just a nice little package and it's quite enjoyable to play, and I've been enjoying it quite a lot over the last few days. Michael here with an impressions review of Musynx, which again is a fairly basic kind of rhythm game, as in notes come down, you hit them when they hit the line. There you go. Those are your mechanics. Now, this is the Steam release, which is a little bit more basic than the mobile version because the mobile version has slide notes. Slide notes have been replaced in the console and Steam version of the game, so they've been replaced with additional hold notes and additional note keys. So instead of holding and sliding, you're just pressing additional keys, which makes sense given the whole fact of it, but let's go ahead and go into it. Now, one thing I will mention is the business model on the Steam version is different than the other versions as well. Like the console version, you just buy the whole package and you get what you get. On the mobile version, they sell song packs. And on the PC version, if we go into it, you just get a single DLC, and so basically you buy a base version of the game which has like a good variety of songs. I'll talk about that in the value proposition of it, but you basically buy a single DLC and you get all the songs, including all the future update songs for whatever you pay for that. So yeah, I have that unlocked. It's quite a decent business model, and I actually like that over a lot of other business models. I don't really like having to worry about all these different song packs and stuff like that, and I'm the type of person who likes to own everything, and so this is saving me money, quite frankly, but that does go into a value proposition thing to where maybe you don't want to buy the entire package until you actually look at all the songs, and obviously we'll cover that in this review when we get down to it. Anyways, first off, we're on PC, so let's go ahead and talk about graphics settings. There ain't much here, but let's go ahead and show up some footage of it. There's a basic launcher that comes up before you start the game that allows you to select your resolution. It only supports 16:9, it looks like, and when you go into windowed mode, it caps out at 1920 by 1080 for some reason, which is a little bit annoying. And you can't resize the window or anything like that, at least not with without third-party software. So yeah, that's a little bit unfortunate, but I've been playing it in full screen, which hasn't been too big of a deal. There is some readability errors that I've been noticing, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. And then there's a high-end and a low-end mode, or high-spec and low-spec mode, which basically this game is super, super lightweight and runs on pretty much anything, so high-spec mode will pretty much work for everyone, but if you're having problems, low-spec mode will run on a toaster. So if you want to play this game on a toaster, go right ahead. Inside the game, there are a few additional options. We get our volume control, which for some reason for me resets every single time I restart the game, so I've just been using Windows Manager for that. And then you get your control settings, which allows you to rebind keys. Now, one thing to note about this is while I can use any type of standard face key, for example, like if I wanted to make a 1 or 2 or 4 or H or B or whatever, I can do that. However, the num key and numpads and special keys like F keys and stuff like that don't work. Tab works, that's a face key. But yeah, so basically certain things, like some people were complaining that the numpad doesn't work. However, this is on PC, therefore you can use, not only can you use Steam's big picture mode rebinding to get either whatever keys you want working, or even a controller, you can also use third-party software to do the same thing, which is actually quite versatile. So it requires a little bit of extra setup, but you can use things like controllers or custom pads and things like that. If you have a rhythm game pad, for example, then you can actually use that. It just takes a little bit of additional setup because Steam does support those if it is a generic controller, or you can use third-party software like a key rebinding software or something like that to actually make those set up. So it does work. It's just a little bit annoying that you have to do those extra steps. So yeah, it's not officially supported, but they do have a tutorial in their forums and everything to actually set up with Steam Big Picture. So if you want to look at that, make sure to look at that. And then you also have a manual here, which doesn't mention anything about the scoring system, which is a little bit of a complaint. It does mention, however, the sound enhancer. I'm not going to be using this in the game. I'm going to leave it on auto, which makes it so the music just plays with it. But this game actually has it so that when you hit notes yourself, it actually makes a sound. And if you miss notes, it will actually like remove the sounds from the song and stuff like that. Very a la Guitar Hero people were comparing it to. It's not the same system, and it is, used in a bunch of different rhythm games, but it's actually kind of nice. I did have some problems with it, however, and the reason why I'm not using it is because it caused some weird clipping and volume issues to where even when I was using it on weak or off, it would make weird clipping sounds within the song and make the sound variance of the notes like wild, which was a bit strange. So I don't know if that's my setup or if that's just the way the game is. Personally, I don't like that effect anyways, so it's not that big of a deal. I'm okay with just when you hit notes, it makes sound. So if I'm hitting like the wrong key or something like that, it will be like a brr or a bing, depending on where you are in the song, which is actually kind of a nice effect. We'll see it in the song, in the actual game when we're playing it. But yeah, there's also a 4-key mode and a 6-key mode, as we saw in the bindings. I'm going to be playing on 6-key mode, and I just jumped immediately into 6-key mode. If you've played rhythm games on keyboard before, you'll be 100% familiar with that. But basically, it just makes it so you're either using 4 keys to hit all the notes, or you're using 6 keys. And the 4-key mode is super easy in comparison to the 6-key mode, so keep that in mind. Anyway, so here's the song selection. I started on Welcome because why the hell not? But yeah, so basically you can slide through here. One of my problems with this is finding a specific song or kind of scrolling through a song is quite difficult. They do, however, separate it between genres or whatever they consider genres, so you can hit skip and it'll skip forward to whatever they consider genres, but their consideration for genres is quite vague and quite general, and so you're going to be skipping a lot of songs. Again, there's over 100 songs inside this game, and so you're skipping like 30 to 40 songs every time you click that, so finding a specific song is a little bit annoying, but yeah, so I'll go ahead and skip forward and we'll find a decent song to actually play. Actually, there is one specific song I actually quite like, and I want to go ahead and play it. I will find it eventually. Again, kind of looking for a specific song is quite annoying. I don't think it's on this board. Maybe it is on this board. I don't remember what board it's on, and this comes into another problem of actually finding the song you want to play. You could play that song. That's a good song. But yeah, the genres are quite different because here's a nice piano song. Everyone's going to know canon in D. Ain't no canon in A. All right. But then you also got this one, which is more of like a rock-heavy song. So, yeah. The song variety is actually quite varied, though. I am looking for a specific song, and I ain't finding it. So, apparently when you're playing that song, we'll just do one of this one, then. We'll do this one. We'll do it on hard. And, we'll do 6 speed. We'll talk about those settings a little bit later, but you can adjust the speed. You can also adjust the offset and things like that. There's no offset, like, menu and setting, though. Move my key off of there, or my mouse pointer. But yeah, we'll talk about that in the next song. But basically, here's the basic gameplay loop of the game. Notes come down to the bottom of the screen, and you click them when they get to the line, and then you press the wrong key because you're an idiot. All right, but yeah, so basically, here it is. There are 2 basic types of notes. You get the ones that you tap, and you get the ones that you hold. And that's pretty much it. There is some interesting things that they do later in the game, and they actually do have some interesting sort of deviations that go into play. Like they do some time alterations and stuff like that, and there's some interesting slide kind of notions that they have inside of here as well. But for the most part, you're just tapping the notes as they hit the bottom of the screen. Now you can hit the wrong note as well, so if I wanted to just like start tapping notes, I can do that, and it'll start making those little audio cues. This song I don't think supports that, but again, you can end up doing that if you want to. So yeah, the gameplay loop is pretty basic, and some people have some complaints about that. I am doing awful. Jesus Christ. And for me personally, I kind of don't mind that. I kind of like having a more basic style of rhythm game to come back to. And so basically, if you're within the kind of rhythm genre and you've played a lot of rhythm games, especially on the keyboard specifically, you're going to find this game pretty dang basic. And on pretty much every single platform, this is considered a more easier sort of rhythm game. And a lot of people have had some simple complaints with that as well. Like, for example, if I just start bashing notes, I can just, like, I'm just bashing on my keyboard now. I'm actually hitting all these notes and still getting credit for it. And this problem actually arises because if you hit the wrong note, it actually doesn't punish you at all. Now, that's not enjoyable to play. Just sitting there just bashing on the keyboard like that isn't enjoyable, but it is a problem that people have kind of mentioned in the sort of difficulty. The leniency on notes as well is pretty dang lenient as well. There are different types of qualities of the notes that you can actually hit, and we're done with the song, so we'll talk about it in the next song. But yeah, so you can actually get different scores and stuff like that based off of that. But when it comes down to difficulty, this game is considered more on the easier and intermediate side of things. Even the more difficult songs, a lot of people that are into a lot of rhythm games, and especially a lot of more, God, I did awful because I was just screwing around. A lot of the more, people that are used to more difficult versions of these, like on mobile, for example, I absolutely destroy this game because I'm used to rhythm games on mobile. I'm not used to rhythm games on keyboard though, so I'm kind of screwing up here and there. But yeah, so it's considered quite easy in a sense, and the leniency on the notes, you can hit a note that's just gone off the screen for a full second after it's off the screen and actually still get it. There we go. This song supports the additional notes when I actually hit them. I'm a little bit better at the song as well because I've played it so many times. I love this song actually. This is one of my favorite songs in the game. I need to find it not in the game so I can listen to it on my own free time. But yeah, so people have complaints with that, and the scoring system doesn't help with that either. The scoring system is a little bit obtuse, as in it uses a sync rate, and it's all based on everything that you end up doing inside of a song, including your combo. So a combo is 10%, and it goes up to 125%. So a combo is considered 10%. So if you hit every single one, it'll add 10% to your score, and then everything else is based off of how well you hit the notes and your timing. And so when I'm hitting the notes here, you'll see it saying exact or great or right. Right is the lowest score, which is basically you hit it a second after it went off the screen, which is basically like a last-ditch attempt of like, oh my god, I missed a note, and then you just tap it to see if it works anyways, and it does, and you're like, all right, cool. It's better than missing it because it keeps your combo. But then you get great, which is your next best one, and then you get exact, and there's different types of exacts as well. There's a blue exact, which basically gives you 100% score and a little bit more if you get it a little bit closer to the 50% millisecond or something like that. I don't remember the exact timings. I think it's like 47 milliseconds or something like that to get a cyan exact. And that will actually give you up to 115% score the closer you are to 1 millisecond. Now, the casual side of this means that, you know, just hitting notes is good enough to get a decent score, which is why people have a problem with that whole accuracy thing. Personally, I don't, because you don't go into a rhythm game playing like that. That's not necessarily what you're gonna do. I think that's kind of ridiculous that people are doing it to begin with, but you can if you want to. And there's no leaderboards for this game or anything like that, at least not officially, I don't think. Maybe there are, and I just haven't seen them. They're not available in-game, but if there are leaderboards, I guess that's a thing. But again, like, the score attacking actually comes down to your main timing. And my problem with that actually doesn't come down to the system at all, because the system, getting a perfect score is actually near damn impossible, and may actually be inhumanly possible on a lot of these songs, because you actually have to get 0 delay to get the full 115% and then get a full combo for that additional 10%, like I was saying. And the system itself works pretty dang well, but again, the game inside doesn't actually explain that scoring system, and they actually had to do an announcement. This could change in the future, but they actually had to do an announcement when they released the game. It's like, this is how our scoring system works, and that kind of shows a problem with a little bit of the design. It's very obtuse and not very easy to read, especially when you're inside the song. It doesn't tell me what my rate is right now, so I don't actually know how well I'm doing while I'm playing the song. I just kind of have to guess based off of the notes I'm hitting. Now, obviously, you could go through it if you saw a great and just be like, well, restart the song immediately, which gets into a problem because the loading times are a little bit long. I'll talk about that in a second when we get back to the menu, but yeah, it's a little obtuse, and it doesn't tell you within the song how well you're doing, which is a little bit annoying. I really like being able to just kind of like quickly eye glance or have some sort of color cue to actually tell me how well I'm doing, and that's kind of nice. It is kind of nice, and the visuals and everything like that are very, very pretty, but it has some readability errors. I'll talk about that in the next song. But here's actually the results screen. So as I was talking about, we got our sync rate. I did 111%, which is pretty bad for me on this song. But on the left side, we actually get our results. It obviously says at the top what key mode I'm using and what difficulty I'm using. And then it's got our exact, which I was talking about, the blue exact, and then you get that cyan score, which is when you actually get closer and closer to that 1 millisecond delay, and that's what you're aiming for. The scoring system goes all the way up to EX, so there's actually quite a bit here. And then you get great notes, your right notes, and then everything you missed. And then you get your combo 777, super lucky, yeah! And then you get your rank on the right side, which goes up to EX, and your sync rate, which goes up to 125%. So your notes account for 115%, and then your combo accounts for 10%. The fact that I have to explain all this inside of a review is kind of ridiculous, and the fact that it took me several minutes to actually explain that. So, yeah. And then here you actually get the retry option, which for some reason there's no key binding for it, I don't think. Like, I don't know how to actually do that with the keyboard, but if I hit enter or escape, it'll just go into next and just bring us back. I would like a way to retry with the keyboard, so I don't have to go over, reach for my mouse, and then tap on it. That's a little bit annoying. Yeah. Another complaint about the interface is it doesn't have touch support. People were mentioning it. I would love to have touch support in this, because rhythm games on touchscreens actually work. So yeah, let's go ahead and select another song and talk about some readability errors. Actually, let me just go to one of the boards I don't like. Now, for different songs, there are different boards, which, personally, the visuals, I'll go ahead and talk about the visuals of the game for the most part first. But the visuals of the game are very, very pretty. Here's that song I like. We'll do this one. I like this song. So yeah, the visuals of the game are very pretty, and it has a nice style to it, but there are different boards, and they all have different colors, which adds into a little bit of a readability error. Now, there is a different theme that you can use, classic, and I'll show that off a little bit after we do this. I'll show off the different board types. But there are some readability errors that go into this. For one, on a full screen monitor, this is a little bit hard to see at first. It took me a long time to get used to it. And another thing that is kind of awkward is the color schemes and stuff like that. Like, for example, each different board has different color schemes. The spacing and stuff like that is exactly the same, so that's not a problem. But the actual colors and the note styles are a little bit different, and the note sizes as well are a little bit different, which means your timing is going to be a little bit off depending on how you look at it, and it takes a while to get used to it. And so yeah, that is a thing that is a little bit annoying, and you'll notice they actually use the same color for 4 different notes, and then the center note on each side is a different color. So for example, they got 4 blue notes and then 1 green or 2 green notes on this board, which means that basically it took me a long time to get used to that and disassociate the color with the keys, because on the other types of rhythm games, people know which ones I'm talking about, they use color to identify where it's at, and so that's a little bit of an annoyance when it comes down to it. And then there are certain boards that are just absolutely impossible to read on a larger screen, which for that you can use the classic mode, which I'll show it off a little bit later, but that is just standard throughout every single song. So every single song you play will actually be the same board, and then it'll have a different visual in the background. Sometimes it'll have video, sometimes it will have just a static image that has some nice effects going on to it. And some people have had problems with the lights as well, like how bright the game is and how much effects it kind of adds into it. While at first I found that a little bit, nauseating in some cases and difficult to read, as I started playing the game, I found it less and less. And so basically I think that kind of goes away with experience. Like with any type of rhythm game, you kind of get used to the environment that you're playing on and the notes that you're hitting. And so, again, I think that comes down to that. But again, it can play into the readability, especially when it goes down to, again, that scoring system and stuff is very obtuse, especially when you're actually playing the song itself. Also, when you're playing rhythm games, you're not necessarily looking at the notes themselves. You're looking at the board in kind of like a general sense. And so, yeah, but I do like the visual style of the game. I think the visuals of the game is quite pretty. It is blurry in some cases on my screen because it was obviously designed for 1920 by 1080, not 2560 by 1440 on a large monitor. And so, yeah, I think I hit every note. I did hit every note. I did one great. Oh, man. But I got an EX score, so there you go. 118% I think is the exact score that you need for an EX score. Most of the time, people are saying for high-end users, you're aiming for that 120%, which is basically hitting like 90% of the notes exact. So, yeah, that's going to be where you're aiming. Anyways, talking about the visuals, talking about the main visuals, I'm going to go ahead and skip to one of the boards that is very impossible to read. So we'll just do this one. So yeah, if I go into here, I've actually never played this song on this difficulty or whatever, or on this board. But here's one of the boards that's really difficult to read. This is the only one I really have a major problem with, but again, it does go into readability towards different. This one is supposed to keep pixel ratios because it's pixel art. The problem with that is it works on a smaller screen. When I played this game on mobile, because I played this game on mobile like a year ago or something like that, it's been quite a while. Yeah, it's hard to read because the actual notes, again, it looks nice and it's readable. Like, you can actually hit the notes when they come down. The problem is the exact timings are off and it looks ugly because all the kind of, I don't know if it'll show up in the video very well, but they're actually skipping down like 4 or 6 pixels every single time they're actually moving down, which means you can't actually see exactly where they're at. It's just kind of like an approximation based on the pixel ratios, which, I mean, as you're playing casually, it ain't much of a problem. But it is really, really difficult to read because it actually, honestly, kind of hurts my eyes when they're just kind of skipping. And if you're aiming for that like high sync rate, it's impossible to really see exactly where they're at because not everything's going to line up to exactly what you want. The solution to that, and this is actually quite clever, and I really, really like the way that they actually did this, is there are different themes. Now, you can't actually use different themes for different genres on different songs quite yet. I do hope they add that in the future. If they add that, that would be super awesome. That would absolutely fix every single complaint I have about this because you could just be like, oh, you can change it, whatever. But they actually have a classic theme, which some of them have videos, some of them don't. I'll talk about video in a second when we actually get into it. But, turn down the speed because I can't do that. It has a lot smaller of a screen to actually see it. But this is classic mode. It'll change the color of the actual board itself, but, yeah, overall, it's just this, and the notes come down in a very classic fashion. Oops, I'm hitting them too early. Whoops. Maybe I should have kept the speed up. So yeah, this is actually a classic board, and this is the same no matter what song you're playing. It will change up the color of the board, like at the bottom, like I was talking about, but the notes themselves will actually be the same. So if you're aiming to, do well on every single song, you can actually get used to this. Now, I've been practicing mostly on the other visual style, so I'm a little bit better at that, but this actually isn't bad. And as I've been playing more and more, I actually enjoy this quite a bit. And some of them have live video in the background, which is actually pretty dang cool. Not live video in the sense of like live recordings or whatever is what I'm talking about, like actual video playing, which is actually pretty dang cool and actually adds a nice effect. And on these songs, for example, the video in the background is just these random like spurts and stuff like that. And again, it kind of plays into the whole visual style of the game, just kind of being nice and cheerful and kind of like nice and pretty and stuff like that. And I actually like the visuals quite a bit. Some people have said they're quite distracting, and I'll go ahead and exit out of this song. I'm never going to finish the song. Oops. Oh, did I click it properly? Oh no, I think I hit restart on accident. Whoops. If you do pause it and then unpause it, it does a little countdown so you don't just like instantly get thrown back into it, which is kind of nice. Not all rhythm games do it, and it always annoys me when they don't. Staring at you, Archaea. But yeah, so I'll show off one of the songs that actually has video in the background. But some people have actually claimed that to be a readability problem. However, you can turn it off, and then it will just show a static background like that song did, but without the visual effects. I believe this song has a video in the background as well. Now, there are certain songs that also do some interesting things as well, to where they do like time manipulation and stuff like that. I'll try and select one of those songs after this. Or actually, I should have just done it on this song. Whatever. Here's the timer that I was talking about. But yeah, so you'll notice it's black, and then all of a sudden, whoa, video! Yeah, it's like a music video in the background, which I love it. I think it's cool, and if they did that for every single song, I think it would be amazing. But at the same time, people have kind of attributed that to the readability errors and making it so it's like, yeah, I can't really play it while it's going on. But again, if you don't like it, you can turn it off. And personally, I like the effect, and it makes it so that spectating the game is a freaking wonder. And actually watching people play this game is quite wonderful, actually. Like watching the trailers, for example, that they had on there for when they released it and everything, was actually quite enjoyable to just see the actual notes. And it actually has like a good visual flair, which adds into the kind of casualness and intermediate of it, and just the enjoyment overall. And as a kind of conclusion to that, it actually just creates an overall general enjoyable experience. And that's kind of like been what I've enjoyed about this game the most. It's a fun experience to sit down and just either play it or spectate. And it's just really, really enjoyable and fun to play. The final notes on that, however, are the value proposition and what you're going to actually enjoy out of this. Because while this is, fun, it is a standard rhythm game. It is notes go to a line and you hit the notes when they hit the line, and that's pretty much it. And it's done in a very, very basic way. There is some time manipulation. I'll go ahead and go into a song that actually has some of that. I don't remember all the songs because not all the songs do it, and it is something I wish the game had more of. And that's a general complaint as well, to where while I enjoy it being basic as it is, having it so that it did more things to kind of mix up the notes and make things interesting would actually be really, really cool. So this song has some alterations to it. Yeah, I'll just leave it as is. We'll turn it off classic though, so we can actually look at the good pretty visuals. But yeah, so there is some stuff they do. They do some time alterations and stuff like that, to where like the speed of the notes and stuff like that alter, and they have some really interesting combinations. And to their credit, every single chart sound, there it is. I love it. I love it when songs do that, and I think it's really, really cool, and I wish they would have done it more, but it's mostly only on like the harder ones. Oops, I just didn't press my finger down all the way and I missed a note. That was dumb. Yeah, so they do some of that, and that's really cool, and I kind of wish there was more of that. For as much as I like that it's basic, I do wish it did have a little bit more of that to cater to more of the hardcore and just add a little bit more excitement to a lot of these songs. Unfortunately, when it comes down to it, there ain't a lot of difficult songs that do it. And that comes down to the value proposition. Now, I was talking about the business model being a little bit different, to where you get the base version of the game, and then on top of that, you're able to buy the DLC pack, which comes with everything. The problem with that is that you not want everything. This game has, not only a good variety of genres, but it also has a lot of songs that people might not particularly like. For example, the game is 50% Vocaloid. which if you don't like Vocaloid, that means 50% of the songs are going to be songs that you don't particularly enjoy. Now, it's not bad Vocaloid. I actually enjoy quite a bit of the songs, but there are certain Vocaloid songs that I absolutely do not like. And that means that that song is completely useless to me. There is no progression inside this game. There is no kind of leaderboard scoring thing. You can just aim for like your higher scores and stuff like that, but you're mostly just going to be playing to enjoy a good rhythm game. And that's mostly where the value comes into play. But if you don't like the songs, then it's not going to be particularly enjoyable to play. The charts are interesting, and like I said, the charts are actually quite varied, and with the base version of the game, they do a good job of giving you a good variety of genres. You get like 5 songs that are like Chinese Vocaloid, you get 5 songs that are really heavy electronica, and 5 songs that are very cute and lovely, and you get 5 piano songs, you know, that type of stuff. They do a good job of giving you a good variety, and that's included overall inside the entire package as well, as in there's a good variety of music here. The problem is, if you don't like that variety of music, your value proposition is going to get smaller and smaller depending on how picky you are. And if you're a hardcore, like, rhythm game fanatic, then you're also going to find that the difficulty also limits your value proposition, because a lot of the songs, a good majority of them, are going to be a little bit more lower difficulty than what most people are going to be aiming for at that level of play. Yes, there are some difficult songs in here, but those difficult songs don't even reach the difficulty that other rhythm games will, which again kind of reinforces the fact that this is more aimed towards the more casual style player. This is one of the songs I absolutely hate. It physically pained me when I played through it, and I'm like, I'm never doing that again. But yeah, so there's a good variety here. You know, you get these types of songs are beautiful. But you get some, you know, nice retro stuff. There's some heavy stuff. There's actually like a metal song in here, which was surprising. It's a Vocaloid, but there's still some metal song. There's some cutesy songs that I didn't play. But yeah, it has a good variety. But again, the problem is, if you're not into that variety, that means that variety is lost value. So, yeah. This song's pretty nice. We'll do this one. I like this board as well. I think I've shown all the boards now. Oh no, I didn't show the cutesy board. Whatever, we can leave that one to whatever. I'll show it off before I end the video. Probably as my closure. But yeah, so as you're, you know, looking at all the songs and stuff like that, that means your value proposition is going to get smaller and smaller. And if you're an experienced player, you're going to find that the game is a bit more on the easier side. Now, I'm considered more as an intermediate / advanced player. I'm terrible with rhythm games when it comes down to a keyboard. In this game, I haven't played a keyboard rhythm game for quite a while, like several years. And so coming back into this game was quite difficult to get used to. But yeah, even me, I'm finding that a lot of it doesn't challenge me, and as I play it more and more, I'm finding that the songs get easier and easier. And with that leniency that I was talking about earlier, it doesn't really pose a challenge to most players. Now again, that's not a problem. Getting that highest score and trying to get 125% sync rate is literally dang impossible. So that adds in a little bit more to it. But the thing is, you know, that's all timing based, and that's all at the higher end, which means that even if you're not quite at the higher end, you know, you're going to find it a little bit difficult to like find yourself extremely challenged, because some of the challenge of rhythm games is like seeing if you can get all the notes and get all the rhythms and stuff like that. This is a beautiful song, by the way. I really, really like it. And I like this board as well. I like how they ended up adding in this little cultural element to it and stuff like that. But yeah, that's going to be your value proposition there, is depends on if you like the songs or not. Now, there is a lot of songs. I think in the current version of the game, in the base version, there is 48 songs, which is of a good variety. And then in the full version, you get another 89 or something like that, I think. Don't quote me on that. I can't remember exactly. I read what somebody else wrote about it. Yeah, and I'll show the last board that we have. Actually, there's 2 more boards I didn't show. Yeah, I'll just go to a cutesy song, though, to kind of close this out. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this one. Yeah, and if you like my styles of content, check out my website, michaelpstanich.com. Leave your comments below in the comments section. I am butchering every single one. There's another one of the types of boards. Personally sounds stupid. There's only 3 songs in there, and then there's the cutesy ones. Let's play, what song should we play? Let's play this one, because I love you. Should keep that in mind. If you want to talk more about how I love you, then go ahead and jump in our gaming Discord called The Broken Chat Box as well. Link in the description below. So yeah, this has been Musynx. It's a good game. I mean, it's a good quality package, and I like how it's put together. I wasn't expecting that. All right, that was me, by the way. That wasn't the song. Yeah, here's one of the other boards. Yeah, it's a good quality product. I mean, if you're looking to just find a rhythm game to chill with, I recommend it. But If you're more hardcore, you're going to find the value proposition to be a little bit difficult to swallow. So yeah, overall, that's my final thoughts. I'm wondering if my mic is going to pick up these keyboard smashing, because I'm just slamming on the keyboard to try and make it pick up, but it probably won't, so that joke might not work. Anyway, see you guys in the next video. I know you guys can't see it, but I'm swaying back and forth while I'm doing this, and it's making it 10 times more difficult.